You don't join this world with a gun in your hand. You enter it with a fake name and a life that can never be yours again. You're sitting in a quiet room, no windows, no clock. The man across from you isn't asking questions, he's confirming them. Your childhood, your habits, your secrets, things you never told anyone. Then he leans forward, calm, certain. He offers you something strange, a life that officially won't exist. No recognition, no records, no return, just purpose, and a single question hanging in the air. How far would you go if your country asked you to disappear? Level 1, the candidate. You don't apply for this job. That's the first thing you learn. You were noticed long before this room, maybe during your military service, maybe at university, maybe during a moment you thought no one saw. But they did. Real intelligence agencies like Mossad often recruit through elite units and academic programs, quietly, selectively. You're not invited, you're identified. The interviews don't feel like interviews. They feel like interrogations without accusation. They test how you think, how you react, how you lie, and more importantly, how you handle being watched. Because you are. Always. Then comes the moment. They tell you things about yourself, not guesses, facts, and you feel it. That shift, curiosity turning into something else, unease, because you realize something terrifying. They didn't find you recently. They've been observing you for years. You weren't chosen randomly. You were chosen long ago. Level 2, the recruit. Training doesn't start with weapons. It starts with your identity, or rather, removing it. You learn languages first, not just words, accents, slang, rhythm. You study people, how they walk, how they pause before answering questions. Surveillance techniques are introduced early, how to follow without being seen, how to disappear in plain sight. But the hardest part isn't technical, it's psychological. They ask you to lie, not to strangers, to people you care about. You tell small lies first, harmless ones, then bigger ones, more convincing ones. And one day it works. Someone trusts something that isn't true, and you feel it, that hesitation, that resistance. Then it fades, because in this world, truth is flexible, usefulness is not. You stop asking if something is right, you start asking if it's effective. The first lie feels wrong, the second feels necessary. Level 3, the shadow observer. Now you watch, not casually, not occasionally, constantly. You're placed in real environments, airports, cafes, streets. Your task is simple: follow, observe, report. Surveillance work depends on patience, on blending in, on becoming forgettable. You learn to sit for hours without moving too much, to scan without staring, to exist without being noticed. At first, it's exhausting. Then something shifts. People stop being individuals. They become patterns, routine, behavior, predictability. You notice how someone checks their phone every 4 minutes, how they always sit facing the door, how they hesitate before answering calls. You're not seeing people anymore. You're decoding them, breaking them into signals. And slowly, emotion disappears from the equation. You're alert, focused, precise, but colder. Because distance creates detachment, and detachment makes everything easier. You're no longer watching people, you're studying behavior. Level 4, the field operative. Now you step into another life, a real one. Different country, different name, different history. Mossad operatives are known to operate under deep cover identities abroad, entire lives constructed from scratch. You don't just pretend, you live it. You have a job, a routine, people who know you as someone else, and they believe it because you believe it. At first, it feels like a role, something temporary, controlled.
But time passes. Weeks become months, months become years, and the lines blur. You hesitate when someone uses your real name because it doesn't feel like yours anymore. You respond faster to the fake one because that's who you are now. Two identities, one body, and no clear boundary between them. You start asking yourself something dangerous. Which version of me is real? Then one day you stop asking because it doesn't matter anymore. The cover stops being a role. It becomes your reality. Level 6, the asset handler. Now you don't just observe, you influence. Human intelligence, HIM, is built on people, sources, informants, assets, and you are the one who recruits them. You find someone vulnerable, someone positioned close to something valuable, information, access, influence. You build a relationship slowly, carefully. Trust is your weapon now. You listen more than you speak. You mirror their emotions. You become what they need. Then comes the moment, the ask. Not direct, never obvious, subtle, gradual. A favor, a small one. Then another, and another, until they cross a line they didn't even see. And now they're in. They trust you, but you know the truth. You're using them. Their choices, their risks, their future, all part of something bigger. And for a second you feel it, that weight, that question. Would I do this to someone if I didn't have to? Then the mission continues, because hesitation is a liability. You don't force betrayal, you make it feel like their choice. Level 7, the covert operative. Now the stakes change. You're no longer gathering information, you're acting on it. Operations are planned carefully, quietly, sometimes involving infiltration, sometimes disruption, always controlled. You're given objectives, not explanations. Need to know isn't a rule, it's survival. You execute tasks knowing something important. If you fail, it won't make headlines. No one will know. But the consequences will still exist and they will still matter. You move through environments that aren't yours, using identities that aren't real, making decisions that can't be undone. There's no applause, no recognition, just outcomes and silence. You become efficient, precise, hardened, because doubt slows you down, and slowing down can expose everything. So you stop doubting, you act, and the world keeps moving because no one knows you moved it. Level 8, the strategic planner. Now you step back. You're not in the field anymore. You're above it. Planning, coordinating, deciding. Senior intelligence roles often shape long-term operations, connecting information across regions, timelines, and priorities. You see the bigger picture now, not just targets, systems, networks, consequences. You decide which operations move forward, which risks are acceptable, which people get involved, including assets, including operatives. You don't meet them, but your decisions affect them directly. You approve plans knowing they will change lives, some for the better, some not. And something shifts again. You stop thinking in terms of right and wrong. You think in terms of outcomes, efficiency, probability, impact. Because hesitation at this level doesn't cost time, it costs results. You stop asking, should we? You start asking, what works? Level 8, the ghost. Now you disappear completely, not physically, officially. No records, no public history, no traceable identity. Deep cover operatives can live for years without connection to their origin, and now you are one of them. You exist in systems that don't acknowledge you. You move through places where no one knows your truth. And that's the point. You are deniable, replaceable, invisible. At first it feels powerful, then it feels empty, because invisibility comes with a cost. No recognition, no closure, no return. You can't explain your life to anyone, because officially it never happened. And slowly you feel it, the disconnect from people, from identity, from yourself. You gave up your name, and no one remembers it. Level 9, the invisible hand. Now you sit where decisions begin, not publicly, quietly, behind systems that shape outcomes. At this level, intelligence feeds into national decisions, policy, security, direction. Your input matters, more than ever. You influence things you will never see directly, events, movements, consequences, all connected to choices made in rooms like this one. You've reached the highest level of control and the deepest level of distance, because power here is abstract, detached. You don't see faces anymore, just variables, outcomes, numbers. And somewhere in that process, you realize something final. You've gained influence, but lost everything that made you human in the first place.
You can change the world, but you don't belong in it. You sit in another quiet room. No windows, no clock. Someone sits across from you now. You watch them closely. Their posture, their hesitation, their answers. You already know everything about them. Their past, their patterns, their potential. They think this is an interview, a choice, an opportunity. You lean forward slightly, calm, certain, and you offer them the same thing you were given, a life that officially won't exist. They hesitate, just like you did, and you already know the answer, because they don't realize it yet. They were never choosing this life. They were chosen for it.